Thank you, Lord. With the bow, baby. In rifle season, Pennsylvania.
I just got my first time with the bow.
Welcome back to the Relive the Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Coal Mountain Sightsinger. I'm excited to bring you our very first official guest on the podcast, Russ Horn. He's from southeast Pennsylvania. In addition to being a successful whitetail hunter, he has also killed a number of black bear here in Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk black bears, we're going to talk whitetails, probably a little QDMA. And, let's get started. How's it going, Russ?
Good, man. How's it going with you, Cole?
It's been going great. I've been traveling with work, and I've been getting in and out of the woods to check cameras and get ready for the upcoming season. I am super excited because I got a number of buck on trail camera, repeat buck from the year before. So I'm excited about that. What about you? What have you been up to?
Just about the same, man. Just working. Just waiting for fall here. It's always a most highly anticipated time of the year. I got some cameras out. I'm doing a little scouting. I was actually out tonight taking some pictures of some buck in velvet, obviously, and things are looking good. I have 2 hit listers that are here that are returnees from last year, and they're looking stellar. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, whitetail season. I know for southeast Pennsylvania, it opens up in a little over 2 months.
Yeah,
early season. So,
yep, September 16th. Same with bear for my zone for 5C.
Yeah, so black bear. Let's jump into that.
Oh, yeah.
You have shot a number of black bear in Pennsylvania. Where'd you get started hunting black bears, and how did it all start?
To be honest with you, I was hunting ever since I was a little kid. I honestly, truthfully, cannot remember my first time in the woods because it was at such a young age, and I've just lived in there ever since. And I never really started hunting bear, or did I even go bear hunting until I was a senior in high school. And I went out with my buddy, and we went up to the mountain, which is state game lands here, and we had in our head that we were going to kill a bear. And everybody laughed at us, said, no way, no way. And actually, my great-grandfather at the time, he actually told us exactly where to go. He lived here his whole life, and he's hunted bear for 60 years, and he never killed one. He had seen them, but he never had the opportunity to kill one. And he told us to go up to National Park and park along the road and walk back to state game lands. And he said, just get back to the swamp at the base of the mountain, just park a seat and sit and wait. And sure enough, my buddy and I went back and we sat down. We were about 50 yards apart, facing the same direction, straight up to the mountain. And I'd actually heard something in the mountain laurel moving around. I thought maybe it's a deer. And it got a little closer, and it sounded bigger, and the sound was getting a lot closer. And I was like, man, I wonder what this is. So I texted my buddy. I said, hey, do you hear that? And I didn't get any response.
How far away were you guys sitting from each other?
About 50 yards.
Okay.
About 50 yards. And he said no. And then I called him, asked him again, and he hung up on me. Told me not to bother him. So at this point, I'm kind of laughing, I'm like, man, he thinks I'm bothering him, or I'm just pulling his leg. And I called him back. I said, I'm going in there after this bear. I said, I guarantee it's a bear. There's no way it's not. So he said, okay, I'll look for you. So sure enough, I got in this mountain laurel, and I started walking, and I probably got 10 yards from it, and I saw this big figure just take off running. Well, next thing you know, I heard 2 shots, and I heard him screaming, I got him. So everybody on the mountain that day would have heard him yelling, I got him, I got the bear.
No way.
It was just awesome. I mean, and I didn't believe it. I literally yelled back, no way, no way. So I run out and I see him standing there about 15 yards from the bear, shaking. I mean, he was shaking. His mouth was wide open. His eyes were, I mean, huge. And I couldn't believe it. So we looked at each other for a minute straight and didn't say a word. And all of a sudden, we just broke out laughing, yelling, hollering. I mean, it was just awesome. And so we said, man, what are we going to do? We got to get this thing out of here. It's going to get dark soon. So we made a couple phone calls and had a trooper buddy of mine who came up and he helped. My dad came up and helped. We got this thing out, and I called my great grandfather at the time, and I said, Pap, I said, we got a bear, and he didn't believe me. He did not, absolutely did not believe me. I mean, when you think about it, there's a guy who hunted 60 years and never killed one, and he tells me to go somewhere the first time I go, and I call him back, telling him I got one, you know, and
Yeah.
so we got the bear loaded up. I took it back to him, and he just couldn't believe it. And ever since that, I was just hooked on it. It was just a great time with my buddy in the woods. Killing a Pennsylvania black bear isn't all that common. It's a really awesome achievement, and ever since then, I just been hooked on it. And I'm pretty fortunate, to be honest with you, to have the parcels and tracts of land that I do. And we live real close to the river, and on the other side of the river is New Jersey, and New Jersey really cut back on their season for black bear. So, they kind of are having an overabundance of them. They just come right across the river and right to PA. And like I said, fortunately enough, I have a tract of land that's right along the river, and several others that aren't far from the river, and it's just prime habitat. It's swamp, it's skunk cabbage. You got big grain fields, and it's thick. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that for Pennsylvania black bear.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable first time going black bear hunting. And back then that was gun season
Yeah.
in in around Thanksgiving, I'm guessing, before
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
Yep. It was a 3-day rifle season statewide.
Yep. So your great grandfather puts you in the woods. He's never even shot a bear.
Yep.
Points you right to one,
Yep.
and you do a little push, and it goes right to your buddy.
Yep. I mean, Cole, we weren't there an hour, and I just like I said, when I came out of that mountain lore and I looked over at him for a minute, I mean, we were speechless. I mean, we looked at each other and just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, if anything's gonna get you hooked, it's that right there.
Oh yeah, and ever since then, I just was like, you know what? People say it's impossible, and I kind of did that, and everybody still said you'll never do it again. So right there was fuel for the fire. When somebody tells me I can't do something, I want to do it that much.
Yeah.
Every year I just set out to do it, and like I said, I'm pretty fortunate to have the tracks that I do. But I think all the time, if I didn't have those tracks, it'd still be very possible because there's so many small parcels where we are that it's so easy to catch one of those bear cruising through. And the opportunity stands for anybody else that's really that hunts around me. It's very possible. And I'd like to see some other hunters have some success with the Pennsylvania black bear as well. I mean, there's so many of them.
Yeah, and so you have a little bit of an advantage in the area that you're hunting. One is the black bear season now opens in September
Yep.
and runs for the entire season just about.
Yeah.
So that plays into effect, and then the population there is big because of New Jersey. So
Right.
they're crossing the river right there in New Jersey. It's different than, say, if you were up in the middle of the state in the big mountains
Oh yeah, for
where
sure.
they only have 3 days to hunt them.
For sure. Yeah, and I run cameras all summer for bear. Anyway, I mean my deer cameras don't ever come down, but for bear, I pop those cameras in the woods probably I don't know, maybe the end of June, and I just let them run and I stay out. It's kind of like deer, I don't want to put my scent in there. I go to pinch points and funnels where it's super thick, and I think I'll get a great shot of a bear coming through, and I just leave them in there, and I try not to check my cameras for bear for at least a month, and that's really it. And I run those cameras all the way through, and like you said, my advantage is that the season opens so early, so I have a longer period of time to hunt and to pinpoint those bear. and hopefully get a great shot on one.
Yeah, and it's paid off for you. You've shot how many bear have you shot in Pennsylvania yourself then?
4.
Four, and you were along with your buddy to shoot that first one.
Yep.
And then your family, do they bear hunt as well?
Not so much. My great grandfather did for 60 years, and like I said, he never had a chance. And my father's kind of getting into it now because he realizes the opportunities we have on our parcels, and so now he's kind of getting into it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm really the only one, to be honest with you.
So you shot 4 black bear in Pennsylvania. You only started when you were a senior in high school.
Yeah.
So maybe in 10 years, you'd say you shot 4 black bear?
Yeah.
10 years hunting bear. Take us back to your first bear that you got, if there was any preparation beforehand or if you just decided to go hunt them, what the property was like, what time of the year it was. Take us into that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think too much preparation is ever a thing, but if it was, it would have been that year. I had actually the following year after that, my great grandfather passed away, and I was like, man, I just want to kill another bear. I really want another bear, and I just had that goal, and I took off work all the time. I mean, there was a couple days during the week in the morning where I even skipped classes at college, and I was out in the woods because I was like, I want to find a bear, and I set out for that bear, and I hunted all archer season. I hunted, the rifle season, and I got lucky when it came to rifle season. I had those bear pinned down to 2 neighboring parcels that I hunted, and they were coming through every Wednesday morning through Friday morning. So I kind of knew that I had to be there basically Wednesday night and all day Thursday. So I had to have an
Yep.
sit on a Wednesday and either morning or night on Thursday, and that was going to be probably my best opportunity. And I had that pattern going on for about 2 months. And the week before rifle season for bear, I didn't have anything. I was like, man, like what's going on? And there's so at that point in time, there's so many people in the woods. I thought, maybe somebody else is sneaking around. Maybe they push these bear away. Maybe their patterns aren't the same, and all kinds of scenarios can be played into it. But I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to it. It's been my routine. Um, I'm just gonna stick to my guns, and I went out on a Thursday afternoon, and I made it happen.
And this was in rifle season then?
Yep.
How long is the rifle season in that area?
The rifle season. I'm trying to think back then. Kind of changed for us a couple times here because it never used to be open on a Saturday, and now it is.
Yeah, and it's kind of in correlation with rifle for deer.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah. Right.
Yep. Okay. So you got it on private land then? Your first bear?
Right. Yep. Yeah. Actually, now I'm thinking about this. My bow bear the following year was on a Thursday. My rifle bear was on a Wednesday. So I stand corrected on that one.
Yep. Okay. So you shot a bear back to back years then. You got your first one
Yep.
the year your great grandfather passes away.
Yep.
That one had to mean a lot to you.
Oh yeah. I mean that was awesome, and that was actually the first bear anybody in the family ever harvested.
Wow. Awesome. How big was the bear?
That one was 250. Weighed in at 250 pounds.
And it was a male or a female?
Female. Yep.
That's a pretty big bear in my eyes. I know that's an average good sized bear. Yeah, anything bigger than that's obviously big, but
Oh yeah.
that's a decent size.
Yeah, that's one thing I've also learned too in the woods is that even harvesting for bear, I still fumble sometimes when I'm trying to judge a bear in the woods while it's walking or if I see it driving down the road or anywhere. I mean, they're honestly just really tough animal to judge on weight.
Yeah, it's hard. You can't really see the gap between their belly and the ground most of the time.
Right.
So you don't you can't tell how big their bodies are. I hear that all the time. And honestly, I have never seen a black bear in the wild.
Really.
which is crazy. I've hunted them, and I've had people shoot them within 100 yards of me,
Oh man.
and I never saw them until they were dead.
Oh
But
man.
I haven't hunted them in quite a few years. It's just I've heard it's tough to judge them on the hoof,
Oh
kind of.
yeah, and there's tricks of the trade they always say to look out for. If the ears are real small, then it's probably a big bear. Because the head's so big. Um, you know, uh, if it waddles, it's probably pretty big. If there's a big hump in its back, it's probably pretty big. Uh,
Yep, yep.
Things like that, and those are things I look for too. Like I said, I'm getting better, but I wouldn't consider myself a professional by any means.
Yeah, well, for bear in Pennsylvania, I know some people that have hunted for 30 years without shooting them. I mean, look at your great grandfather.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely fortunate about that.
So that's an impressive thing to do. So you shot a bear. You said your second bear was with a bow then, the
Yep,
following year,
correct.
and that was on the same property.
No, that was actually on one of our other farms. That bear was a pretty interesting story too. I was deer hunting on that one, and I thought, I've been seeing some bear in here, but I'm really after a deer. I wanted some meat for the freezer early in the season, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go here because maybe I'll see a bear, or maybe I'll have the opportunity for a deer. So I went and I walked in the woods, and I got in my climber, climbed up the tree, brought my bow up with me, and I was probably sitting there for only 20 minutes. And I looked through the funnel of the swamp out towards a field, and I just saw figures. And at that point, I couldn't really tell what they were. So I picked up my binoculars and I looked, and sure enough, it was a sow with two cubs. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. So I watched him for a little bit, and it kind of disappeared. And about an hour went by, and I didn't see him. So at this point, I'm texting my dad. I'm saying, "Hey, I'm in the swamp. I saw a couple bear, and I don't know where they're at." And he's saying, "Just hang tight, hang tight. Maybe they'll come through." And sure enough, I don't know, probably a half hour after that, after I texted him, this bear started coming through, and I saw it was a small sow and with cubs, and I really didn't want to shoot her. And she was probably about 40 yards from my tree, going the other way, and she hit my trail that I walked in on, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, she put her nose to the ground, never once looked up, and followed it right to the tree.
Oh man.
I was like, "Oh boy!" So the cubs are still stationary. They're still, where the mother left them, and she came right to the tree. And next thing you know, Cole, she's on her hind legs coming up the tree, and I was like,
How high up are you?
I was probably 25 foot, and like I said, I was in my climber, and
Yep, yep.
so I'm up in this tree, and at this point, she's standing up, so I stood up, and she started coming, and I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to shoot this bear. So I kind of yelled at it, tried to shoot away, and it just wasn't having it. It didn't care, didn't phase it, and it kept coming. Well, it got so close, it got to the point where I could see the white around its eyes, I could see the snot coming out of its nose, and
Oh my
it just
god.
kept coming. And so at this point, Cole, I'm probably 5, 6 feet away from it, and it's in my tree with me. And I'm looking around, and I'm still looking at this bear. So at this point, I have my bow in my hand. I grab my bow. I have my bow in my hand, and it's looking around. And all of a sudden, it just looks up at me and leans back like it was gonna make a move. And it kind of made me nervous, to be honest with you. And at that point, I said, I gotta take this bear because it's just getting too close for comfort. And I didn't know how it was gonna go down. There's cubs there. Granted, I wasn't between her and the cubs, thankfully.
Yeah, but she was still doing some sort of protective thing because she had to know you're a human,
Right.
but she wasn't backing off.
Exactly. And it made me nervous. And I thought, you know what? I got to take this bear. So I drew back and I shot, and I made a perfect shot right in the chest. And the bear only ended up going about 20 yards and gave a death growl, which is pretty neat to hear, to be honest with you. It's a really cool sound in the woods. It's really not like anything you'll probably ever hear. Um,
Yeah, definitely not something everybody hears, but I have heard stories of that already, and I imagine, with a hunt, that's one of those things that just kind of get you going.
oh yeah, yeah, it's unique. It's all part of it, and she only went 20 yards, gave the death growl, and at that point, when I heard the growl, I started shaking like, oh my god, I just killed another bear. I was like, I can't believe this. And the whole time this was
Yeah.
going on, it never crossed my mind that I'm gonna get the opportunity to shoot another bear. It was just I was so caught up in the moment, and my adrenaline was going, and it just never crossed my mind. And after I heard the death growl, it set in, and I was pumped. I was ecstatic.
Yeah, that's awesome. You go from you were kind of just going to watch this bear
Yep.
to going back into hunter mode, almost trying to protect your life, sort of, so to speak.
Right.
Not knowing what's going to happen, especially when you got to climb down out of that tree in the dark
Right.
and you got cubs and a mom around. Um, and then, yeah, then the adrenaline rushes in shortly after that. So you went from not thinking you were going to shoot a bear to taking your second bear
Yep.
and being with a bow.
Right. Yeah. And it was awesome. Um, and again, ever since that, I was like, man, I really like this. And like I said, I was trying to pattern the bear, and that specific day, that hunt, I wasn't out for a bear, but I knew that they were coming in and out of there, and again, everybody said, "Oh, you'll never have the chance to shoot another bear."
Yeah, and I know a lot of times the cubs will stay with their mom for over a year.
Right.
So there's a good chance these cubs were fine.
Oh yeah.
They had each other, or they would hook up with another bear in the area, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. They were definitely probably year-old cubs. I would say they were probably about 100 pounds, and they were fine. Actually, to be honest with you, I actually saw them later in the year, and I have another neighbor who got trail cam photos of those cubs, and they were fine. They could be bear that I now have on camera. You know,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, how long ago was that? What year?
that would have been, oh man, I think 2014.
Okay, so not that long ago then. Yeah, definitely those bear could be running around now
Oh yeah,
in,
absolutely.
in those in that area.
Yep.
So being in that area that you're at, you can archery bear hunt early season. Not a lot of people probably shoot bear in that season.
Right.
Um, so when you do shoot a bear like that, I'm guessing it's something that gets around quick. You have to check the bear in like you do normally with game commission and everything. How does that work?
Yep. Absolutely. What happens is in the archery season, they don't have check stations open, simply because the season isn't statewide, and there's probably not going to be as many people harvesting bear with a bow.
Yeah,
So
yep, absolutely.
stations. But what you do is you call into your regional headquarters for the game commission, and you just report your harvest to them. And what they do, probably 8 times out of 10, is that they'll have a warden who's working that area, that region, meet up with you, and they'll come check out the site of where you harvested the bear, make sure everything was legal. There's no foul play, nothing like that's going on, and they will tag the bear. They will pull a tooth, give you an estimated live weight, they make some measurements, and write you out a certificate, and that's about it as far as for archery. And when you go in the rifle season to a check station, it's a little bit different. More bear, more hunters. You pull up, and with your truck, you back into the garage. They'll take it off with a scale to get a more accurate weight, and then they'll pull the same information. They'll get a tooth, do the measurements, and write you out a certificate.
Awesome. Yeah, that's neat. I think something that adds to it would make me want to bear hunt is the fact that you hunt these things sort of like whitetail. You know,
Oh,
you put the cameras out, you sort of pattern them. I'm sure there's been a time or two where you've followed a particular bear, whether it's a big size bear or has a white marking on it or anything. You know, you sort of hunt them like whitetails, so that's exciting. That's the kind of hunting I'm into. That's not the type of bear hunting that normally goes on. So that's
right.
kind of unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I had to give any tips to what I do and to my success, I would highly recommend hunting them like a whitetail, scent free, 20-25 feet up, um, low pressure. Same thing like checking your cameras with whitetail. Don't check your cameras all the time. You want to go where it's completely thick, it's wet. They like swampy areas. They love that skunk cabbage, and wherever there's a good thick place to hide. Um, that's really, it's really my best tips, I guess, for anybody out there
Yeah.
into it.
Do you hunt on these properties? Do you hunt the whitetail and the bear in the same property,
I do.
or is it same locations, or is it different? They kind of keep to themselves. How does that work?
Um, to be honest with you, I do have a couple stands hung that are strictly for bear because it's so thick, it's wet, and I really don't ever see deer going through there. They kind of avoid it, but for some reason the bear love passing through there. So I do have a couple stands that are separate. For the most part, though, my whitetail sets and my bear sets are really the same.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you saying now your second bear you shot, and you were actually whitetail hunting. So
Right.
that one, it
Yeah.
worked out that way.
Yeah.
Um,
And actually, after that, going back to what you said about, kind of patterning them and being after a specific bear, I know the year after that, I was after a big bear, a real big bear. People were probably guessing around 500, and I went all season. I never saw him in person. I got him on camera twice, and I went the whole season. And I actually passed up a few bear, to be honest. They were smaller. They were probably around 150, 200 pounds. And at that point, I was like, I really don't need to. I kind of set out to do what I wanted to do, and I kind of have my sights set on one thing. You're only allowed one tag, and I thought, you know what, if I can come across this bear, I'm gonna harvest it. So I waited it out, and the whole season went by, and I got to the last day of rifle season for the statewide um, deer hunt, and it was the last Saturday. It was in December. I want to say it was December maybe 11th or 12th, something like that. And we were actually on our family property, and my cousin had shot a buck earlier in the day, and it ran into the woods, into a patch of woods we don't really go into. So we waited till midday, till there wasn't a lot of hunters in the woods, and we said, you know what, we're gonna go in there and look for this thing. So I had actually went to one of my stands, and I sat there, and just in case anything had come through, um, and I sat there, and sure enough, this bear came through. And although it wasn't the one I was after, it was still big. That one was 425 pounds, and I couldn't believe it. I saw it, and when I saw it, I literally remember saying out loud, "No way!" And I shot. I actually shot it a few times, all ethical shots, and it was just a very big bear, and I was really amazed. And I got lucky on that one. There was no there was no preparation or anything. That was pure luck. Even though I waited out for the opportunity on a bear of that caliber, um, I just got lucky on that one.
yeah, yeah. And that's your biggest bear then to date?
It is. Yep, it definitely is. I'd
A
actually
little
meant
over 400 pounds. That's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's for a PA black bear to begin with is just an awesome accomplishment, but to get one of that size is just a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 400 pounds. Imagine that.
Yeah,
You're not getting that out of the woods by yourself.
No,
So,
and luckily, my whole family was there. To be honest with you, and it took 6 guys to drag that bear downhill.
and they probably couldn't even believe it when you shot him. They probably thought you
Yeah.
shot a deer if they heard you shoot,
Yep. Yep.
and
At that
here
time,
you are sitting over this giant black bear.
yeah, yeah, and nobody believed it. I couldn't even believe it. And at that time, I did have my deer tags filled, and like I said, I sat there hoping something might come through, and sure enough, it did, and that was pure luck. That day was pure luck, and when they all came up, they just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you put yourself in that position. You know the bear are around, and it paid off again,
Yeah,
being your third bear in Pennsylvania.
definitely.
Um, you know, people, like I said before, people hunt their whole lives trying to get one.
Yeah.
I've only gone maybe 3 years, and we when I did it, it was in the big mountains, upstate. Doing drives with full roster. That was bear hunting to me.
Oh yeah.
Now, the way you hunt them, like they're whitetails, um, eventually a goal of mine is to go out there and take a bear with a bow. Specifically hunting them like that.
Yeah, and then you know what too? That's awesome though. I mean, that's such a traditional thing. To get a group of guys and go up to the mountain and and drive and push out the bear here in PA. I mean, that's a really traditional thing, and that's something I've done. It's cool. It's fun. You enjoy the
Yeah, it's an absolute blast. I mean, I don't think there's anything like it in any other state.
no,
I think the way people hunt bear in Pennsylvania, because you can't bait bear in Pennsylvania like
correct.
you can other states. You can sit over a big 55-gallon drum of donuts. Well, you
Yep.
can't do that in PA. So when
Right.
you get together with 25 guys and you're pushing these huge mountain laurels and steep mountains, you know, to go out there with a group of guys like that, we were able to take a couple bear when I was up. Every time I was up, we took bear in our group. Anytime you get one, two, three, four bear, that's a successful season for 25 guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it is a blast. I don't know if everybody knows like the tradition of hunting black bear in Pennsylvania, but there's guys that do that year in and year out,
Yep.
and it is just awesome. That my first year going, there was a guy there that shot a bear, and it was 33 years he was doing it, 33 years straight doing bear drives on mountains, and he finally took his first bear.
That's awesome. Yeah,
You know,
it's an accomplishment. It really is. Kind of like how we had said earlier. Guys who like him have hunted for years or even their whole life and never killed one. My great grandfather was the same story, and it really makes you think about how the population must be growing. You know, and
yeah, absolutely.
it's definitely growing. It's definitely I guess a big thing to that is New Jersey. Is a big help and influence to that because their population is just out of control, and we're getting that because the river, it's right there. They swim the river, and they're over here. The bear had shot with a bow in the tree with me was actually from New Jersey, and that was 3 miles from the river itself.
Wow. How did they prove that? Was it tug?
Yep. Yeah, I had a New Jersey state tag, and in New Jersey they tattoo the bear on the inside of the lip, on the gums.
That's awesome. So you got a
Yep.
little bit of history on that bear
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
what they knew.
Yep. That's cool. It.
Yeah, that's really neat. Now I'm in southeast Pennsylvania, and I can hunt bear where I live with a bow just like you, but I think there's like two bear shot in Berks County,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe a year if you're lucky.
Yep.
Like there's just no bear here. So, living east close to New Jersey is a big difference. Not this entire area that is open to archery bear hunting
Right.
is holding bear. And then my other property, you cannot hunt bear until the gun season comes in, or the archery is statewide archery. And
Gotcha.
even
Do they have?
there, even there, the bear aren't in big numbers. But I get pictures of them on trail camera just about every year. It would be something to shoot one up there, and the last week of archery season, bear is now open this year for the first time
That's cool.
statewide.
That's cool. Yeah, you have to hopefully get some more on camera and try and get one down.
Yeah, I mean, I got my bear tag, and I won't hesitate if I get an opportunity. Like I said, I've never even seen one in the wild, but I'll be ready if
Oh
I
yeah.
do. And because I have my bear license, I'll probably go out and go up north a little bit where there are more bear and try again this year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's one thing I try to tell guys all the time, and I say, you got to buy that bear tag. You got to buy that bear tag. And I have a lot of people that say, I'll never see a bear. I'll never see a bear. And I, that's something I can honestly say that I kind of disagree with. And, there's so many times where guys say, man, I wish I would have had that bear tag. And for $16, putting the money towards conservation, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy sitting in
Yeah.
the woods, legally being able to take a bear and not have my bear tag. I want
Yeah.
to
Oh,
make sure I have that in my pocket.
yeah. That could keep you up at night.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine. I don't. I'm not going to make that mistake. Not this year. Not knowing that I can shoot one while I'm deer
No.
hunting.
No, definitely not. Yeah, there's like you said, there's becoming more and more opportunity for people to have success with Pennsylvania black bear, and I'd love to see people have more success and accomplish that because, it kind of comes down to conservation where there's too many, and ultimately, black bear they're a predator too, and they're just as bad, if not worse, for the deer population and the fawns in the spring than coyotes.
Yeah, talk to us about that a little bit. You hunt whitetail, and you're a successful whitetail hunter. I've seen your pictures and seen your videos. How does the bear population affect your whitetail, or are you just kind of used to it where you are at? Treat them just like coyotes, just about.
Yeah, that's something I'm still trying to learn and figure out. To be honest with you, obviously it's nature's the woods, and they all will cohabitate, together. But when you think about it, a bear is a predator just like the coyote. Where I think a coyote is more of a predator of opportunity, where they're not gonna so much go out of their way to hunt a specific animal. They're just gonna capitalize on the opportunity. Where bear, it proves in studies that bear will actually pace hay fields and any kind of field for that matter in the spring just for fawns. Um, and I've been trying to figure out for a while here for the past few years how I still have success hunting whitetail with so many predators around. And you know, eh, here in Pennsylvania, our
Yeah.
parcels are just small. We're not in Illinois or Iowa. Um, so I think they're constantly on edge, constantly alert. They have the best sight and smell in the woods.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're living out there, surviving 24/7, 365. So, the older they get, the more age they put on, the smarter they are.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that could make it more difficult to hunt them as well.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely can. There's been times where I've sat in my tree stand and from a distance I've seen deer in the field and I've seen a bear enter the field and the deer just freeze. They don't run, they don't do anything. They just freeze and just lock up, and they just kind of wait it out for the bear to pass by, and they just head the other way. I mean, they're gone.
Yeah. So as soon as that bear leaves the field, do the deer disappear then?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they shatter like glass, but they definitely get out of there in a hurry, and quietly too. It's not your typical throw the tail up, snort, and run out. They kind of do it real discreetly, and they kind of
Yeah.
get out of there.
Yep. They're making sure they know where that bear went before
Right.
they bust out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's I mean that's it's awesome that you got the whitetail and the bear in the same properties because I've never really hunted properties like that. I've never had
Yeah,
to worry about running into a bear in the dark or anything like that. They're just not abundant where I hunt.
yeah,
But I think it would be
yeah,
pretty cool
yeah.
knowing that you could shoot one at any time.
Oh yeah, it is. And that's what keeps on the edge of your seat in the woods. Most guys when they go out to whitetail hunt, they're really out there, just anticipating whitetail, and that's all they're gonna, harvest. But around here in my area, you really never know what you're gonna see.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it. That keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you on your toes and alert. And like I said, I just highly recommend to everybody, out there to spend the extra $16 towards conservation and put that bear tag in your pocket because you never know when you'll have that opportunity.
Is it pretty common in your area for people to get bear? Like, do you hear of other people shooting a bear with the bow?
Yeah, I'd say ever since my first year hunting, and my buddy and I harvested that bear up at the mountain, um, I'd say there's at least 2 to 4 different local hunters that harvest bear. And I think for Northampton County, um, the numbers are definitely rising every year. They're definitely going up, and like I said, I personally believe that goes back to New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The bear population's there, and now more and more people are getting into it and involved in hunting them.
Yep,
So, so that number continues to go up.
yep, definitely, definitely.
So you shot one other bear. We heard about three stories,
Yep.
and you shot one other bear. Take us on that hunt a little bit. Did you prepare for it that season? What were you doing?
Yeah,
How did that one come together?
that was this past year. That was kind of the same thing. I set out and um, I went 1 year in between without harvesting a bear. I did pass up a couple smaller bear that I really didn't want to harvest. I thought that they were too young. Just didn't seem really ethical in my book, and I just didn't want to do it. And so I went 1 year without harvesting a bear, and the next season, which ended up being this past season, I was hungry. I was like, you know what, I really want to harvest another bear. I really want to set out and do it again. And come midsummer, I got my cameras out there, and I was ready to go. And the season, I think, this past year started. I want to say around the 18th or 19th, maybe, of September, and I set out that weekend, that first Saturday, and I had no luck. And I checked the cameras the following Sunday, and sure enough, that night, Saturday night, a bear came through where I was, and I thought, man, oh man, the opportunity is going to come. So I hung tight and stuck to hunting that spot. And the following, I think it was the following Saturday, I snuck back in there, and it was raining, it was windy. Um, it wasn't the best weather to hunt scent free. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
But I thought, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna get in there. So I got in the swamp. I got set up, and I was self filming, and I got set up in the tree. Got the camera arm up. Got my camera up, and I don't know if it was an hour, and this bear came through, and I thought, oh man. So it came through, and it came through really quick, and I got the camera on it. I got my bow in my left hand, camera in the right hand. I'm filming it come through, and there's so much brush in this spot that it's really tough to self film and get all of it on film. And I got the bear coming through. I got it coming through one lane, and it came to an opening, and I put the camera there. I drew back, and I hit a branch, and I sent the arrow right over its back.
oh man.
And I was like, no way! I just blew this opportunity, and
Yeah.
I thought, oh no! And I grabbed an arrow. I instantly knocked another arrow, and I looked down, and the bear I could still see him blowing through the brush, and then everything got quiet. It stopped. Well, I swung the camera around towards the direction I thought the bear was, and all of a sudden the bear doubled back and came to me, in another lane I had all the way to my left, the complete opposite side. And it's a real where I'm hunting is a real narrow funnel. Honestly, it's probably 100 yards wide.
Okay.
And this bear came back through, and I put the camera on it. I drew back, and it ran. And I thought, oh no! So the camera's not on it. So I let go of the bow real quick, swing the camera back to the next lane where I think it's going to come through. I draw back, and the bear steps through the lane, steps out of it, and I shot. And I perfect shot. And unfortunately, um, not the whole thing was in the picture, but you definitely see the bear coming through. You hear the impact, you hear all the audio. It's great audio, and right then and there, I thought, I can't believe this. This just happened again.
Yeah, so you shot your
And
fourth bear, and
yep,
you captured most of it on film, which self
yep,
filming's hard enough to begin with. And
yeah,
you do it with a black bear in Pennsylvania. There's
yep,
probably not many people that have done that, if I
yeah,
had to guess.
yeah. It was cool. Honestly, it was awesome, and I definitely want to do it again. I mean, I'm setting out to do it again this year, and I'm hoping that it pans out. Um, but yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
probably going back to that same spot. I was actually in there today for the first time. I got camera set up, and the first visit in, I crossed multiple different bear tracks going in. So it seems promising for the season.
All right. So going into this season, do you have any bear on camera that you're watching, or how many bear do you think use the property that you're scouting?
I'm gonna guess at least 2 to 3 for sure. There could be more. What I saw when I went in there is um, I think I saw a real good set of bear prints in there, and then I think I saw maybe a sow with a cub. So I think there's definitely at least 3 bear in there, and there definitely could be more.
Awesome. And you're gonna hunt that same spot. It's a swamp, sort of a 100-yard pinch, which seemed to pay off for you.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. That's probably gonna be my number one spot. I actually got a brute on my Exodus camera the other day, and when I say brute, I mean it's probably a 400 to 500 pound bear, which I'd really like to get the opportunity to harvest that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the bear you're after then.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. It, let me tell you, it gets a little pricey. Taxidermy and all that, it gets a little pricey, and I still want to keep doing it though. I mean, with a bear like that, it's harvesting a bear like that's few and far between.
Yeah, especially when they get to that size. I mean, do you have all your bear mounted, or
I
rugs, or what did you do with them?
I do. I have my first bear. I have a full body mount. The second bear that I shot in the tree with me, I have a rug, and the um, third bear I have standing up. That's my largest bear. That's a full body, and the fourth bear from last year is currently at the taxidermist right now, getting a shoulder mount.
Awesome, awesome. Four bear in Pennsylvania, I'd say that is successful. Um, if you had any quick tips for someone who has never hunted bear, maybe on where to go or what to do, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them hunt them like whitetail, scent free, um, 25 feet up, be patient, low key, low pressure. I would run some cameras, and I would only check them every 3 to 4 weeks, and that's really about it. I mean, as far as territory or terrain, um, the ideal thing is a swamp. You want thick cover, swamp. They love skunk cabbage. And everybody knows the bear love rolling around the cornfields come summer and fall. So when you can get into a place where there's thick cover and there's grain fields, within a certain mile radius or 500,000 yards, you're kind of sitting in a good position.
Yeah, and on top of that, don't come hunt near me because there's no bear here. But you can head out Russ's way,
Yeah, yeah,
or you could just go up in northern Pennsylvania. There's a lot more bear up there.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And like I said, I really hope that everybody sticks out that extra $16 for conservation and puts a tag in their pocket because you never know when you're gonna have that opportunity, and it's still once of a lifetime in my eyes for Pennsylvania black bear.
Yeah, or four times in a lifetime for you, and
Yeah.
you're looking to add another one.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
Well, I know you. I know you're a big QDMA follower, and I know you're a big whitetail hunter. But we're gonna wrap this one up, and we'll have to have you back on the podcast. I appreciate you coming on, Russ.
Yeah.
It's been great to talk black bear. It's something obviously I don't hunt them, so I don't get to experience that stuff. To hear those stories is neat, and to see the success that you can have in Pennsylvania is really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you having me on here, Cole. Hopefully this is the first of many.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to get you back on for some whitetail talking since that season is just around the corner. We're gonna definitely post some pictures up so you can take a look at Russ's bear that he has taken over the years. We'll probably even try to get a link to that video if you
Abs-
have it. We can share that, so that'll be good. Look for that on social media. Where can people follow you at?
You can follow me on Instagram, Russell7Horn, and on Facebook, Russell Horn Outdoors. So I'm on both of them, pretty active on them. Try to be anyway. Sharing my stories and keeping up with the content, and just reliving the hunt.
Awesome, awesome. And for everyone listening, I appreciate you listening. Leave some comments, leave some feedback, share this, like it, do whatever you got to do to get the word out. If there's anything you didn't like, let us know too. We'll take it all. I appreciate you coming on, Russ, and until next one, I'll see you later.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me, Cole.